Hello, good afternoon. I have Richard Collins here with D1 Training.
Definitely appreciate the time, Melissa. Super excited to connect and just walk through my experiences. But just like you had mentioned, my name's Richard Collins, franchise development for D1 Training. I've been working with D1 now for about 13, 14 months. And prior to joining the D1 team, I spent the last 12 years in the fitness field, managing, overseeing, big box gyms, working in the fitness industry. I have a kinesiology degree. My passion has always been in the fitness field, working with young athletes, helping combat type 2 diabetes and childhood obesity, which is running rampant, and there's multiple reasons why. But that's always been kind of my North Star and my main motivation of being in this fitness field. And when I had the opportunity to come over to D1, it was a very easy transition, not only because of, the brand growth, what we stand for, but what we're doing for the community and these young athletes to help them become better athletes, but also just help them in general when it comes to fitness. So couldn't be happier being part of the D1 team and making a huge impact in communities across the country by putting a D1 inside of these in their areas to really affect these young kids, but also an opportunity to work with great franchise owners to be able to help drive as much revenue to them as possible as well.
I always love hearing about people's backgrounds and their origin story, what gets them going, all those good things. So, and the team at D1 is just so great. All right, so we're going to talk about just recently, you've been working with the Entrepreneur Source for the entire time that you've been at D1. Wanted to talk to you about more specifically a placement that you guys had with the Entrepreneur Source. What was that experience like? If you want to talk us through the kind of the timeline, how it went from start to finish.
Yeah, absolutely. I was able to work with one of the coaches, Jason Madden. Absolutely phenomenal experience. And what I could say about Jason is I really think he stepped up my game as a franchise, development guy because of his experience, not only as being a coach, but also him being a franchisee owning some of his own businesses as well. So being able to really collaborate with him on the clients, and the clients were Marcus and Erica, and the placement was in Virginia. And I really think just Jason did a phenomenal job at putting the right concepts in front of Marcus and Erica so that when they came to the initial introduction call, they were fired up, ready to go, ready to learn. And then as we kind of progressed through the sales process and the discovery process, my interactions with Jason were top notch. Him and I had a pretty good cadence when it comes to, collaborating, figuring out what's the best moves for Erica and Marcus in regards to continuing to make this move forward, but also just keeping him updated on my conversations and maybe any obstacles or hurdles that I was seeing. But then also Jason was doing a fantastic job communicating with me, kind of letting me know what he's hearing and things that I could do better, or maybe, introduce to Marcus and Erica to make them more confident about moving it forward. So, the progress, the sales process, the discovery process took right around like 2.5 months. But during those 2.5 months, Marcus and Erica were phenomenally prepared every single call with great questions. And I really think that, stemmed from them having a great communication and great relationship cadence with Jason as well.
I always love hearing about when things work and it's just like everything is aligned. It's just a beautiful thing. Give me a little bit of background on the clients, like where they came from. Did they have that fitness background, or what was it about D1 that spoke to them?
Great question. So Erica, she was a collegiate athlete, so she played sports at a high level. And then Marcus was career military, transitioning out, really just looking for his next thing. I think he had been, in a structured environment for many, many years. And I think he was really wanting to take his experiences and be his own boss and have the opportunity to bring to life his own vision, his passion, aligned with what Erica's passion and her experiences too. But the thing is, they also had 3 kids. And I think both of them played at the high level when it comes to sports, competitive youth sports. So when D1 was introduced to them, I think they saw the opportunity of a market that's kind of untapped, but they also were able to relate to the time and money that they spent in their own children to be able to get them to the next level and play at that next level. And then, connecting with Erica because of her collegiate background, she also knew personally the time and commitment that you have to invest in yourself to get to that next level. And then if you've kind of got that entrepreneurial mindset, you'll look around and be like, there's nothing out there that's really catering to the youth to make them quicker, faster, stronger, to perform better. And then D1 comes onto your radar and you see a unique business opportunity to capitalize on your passion, but also from a revenue standpoint as well.
You kind of hear these, I call it like the red thread. So, you have D1 training and it's fitness based, that on the surface, but then also this red thread of like helping kids, helping your community, impacting kids' lives, impacting families, being able to really initiate change. That red thread, I think, is really what draws someone to, let's say, a brand like D1 or just in general. And I don't know that people always focus on that as much as they maybe should. What are some things that maybe franchisees, maybe it was that they were surprised to learn about, or that really connected with them and resonated with them about D1 that maybe they didn't realize when they first started talking to you or were first introduced?
No, great question. I think you kind of nailed it on that intro. And I think when people first get attracted to D1, not everybody knows, eventually they are, that D1 is an athletic training facility, but everybody knows what D1 stands for. And so I think people think initially you're athletes right out the gates. We're going to be training these top tier athletes to get them to the professional level and the collegiate level, which we absolutely are. We're going to be able to handle and train those type of athletes. But really what I think a lot of people are surprised about are the actual true athletes that we're seeing inside of our facilities, right? For the most part, most people aren't going to make it to that next level, but our philosophy is that doesn't mean that those athletes don't get to train like those athletes that get to the next level. So we want to make sure that we're providing top-notch training in top-notch facilities for just your average everyday type of athlete who's trying to lose weight, make a team, become quicker, faster, and stronger. And so I think initially people get drawn into D1 because they think we're going to be dealing with the top tier athletes, but I think what really gets them to commit to D1 is figuring out that when they peel back the onions, we're tailoring all athletes of all skill levels, of all athletic goals, and we're really just making a positive impact on the community because there's really nothing out there that's focusing on these kids first and giving them age-appropriate workouts that hopefully will get them to the next level, and we're going to motivate and congratulate them when they do. But really, it's delivering a solid fitness foundation at a young age that's going to be appropriate for these kids that hopefully allows them to continue to have fitness in their life going forward, because I think our philosophy is you're going to be healthier, happier, and more successful if you have a solid fitness foundation. So as we take candidates and clients through this process, we are actually bringing to life the overall arching theme of what D1 does, which is tailoring to all athletes to make sure that they have a positive, fun, a high success experience inside of our facilities.
It's just so interesting, like just thinking about you're talking to these people who are coming to D1 for, like you said, kind of on the face value. I know what D1 is, high level, high performing athlete. Just the fact that between the coach, what the coach does, and then what you do as well, you're introducing people to something they probably never would have thought of, didn't really know existed, just being able to help these people make a difference in the way that they want to. And it's like something that's really great for them and their family.
And a lot of things I talk to people, clients about is the times have changed. Technology is here to stay. You can't survive without it. But it's also kind of a deterrent for kids to be able to go outside and be kids. And having a place like a D1 where they could go interact with their peers, they could get introduced to fitness, they could have a fun time, run on the turf, learn how to move their bodies in an appropriate way, is a game changer because kids aren't outside like they used to be playing outside. They're more inside. There's less trust going on in society in general. So having these D1 facilities inside of your community really just changes the games of providing a service for these kids to be able to go and be kids and do what maybe we used to do growing up outside.
100%. We talk a lot about client experience, the client being your franchise candidate, and the coach and franchisor collaboration, that whole relationship. Are there any aha moments or highlights that stood out to you during that time?
I really think the aha moment maybe with Erica and Marcus is really just understanding the true value of what we bring to our clients, but also our franchise owners from a support standpoint. So I think a lot of times when I'm talking to clients, especially Marcus and Erica, they're surprised about how turnkey of a process we are, a system we are when it comes to helping support you every step of the way, but even ongoing once you're open as well. So you're not always just going to be on this island having to figure out a way to survive. And I think we really validated that because we have our weekly leadership and validation calls where we get our home office team, we get Will Bartholomew, we get Dan, our COO, on these calls for these people to really understand that we are a family and we're looking for the right people to come into the D1 system. We're not just going to let anybody come in. We want to make sure that their core values align with us and their motivations are aligned with our motivations. And we put them in many situations to get that full experience through our weekly leadership calls, but also our weekly validation calls, getting our current franchise owners to get on the call and really to be as transparent as possible to bring to life everything D1. And I really think the aha moment with Marcus and Erica was really the transparency that we provide as a franchisor to really make sure that this is the right venture that you want to get into, because it is a passion play, and we want to make sure your core values are aligned with working with these young athletes, being a pillar in the community. And I think when they see that, it resonates with, yes, this is the passion that we want, and this is the brand that we should be going forward with, because they're going to be in it with us. And, you know, collaborating with Jason was also phenomenal, because I think I got to learn so much about his process, but also he got to learn so much more about what D1 does. So now when he goes and talks to other clients about D1, he's going to have a lot more reference points to be able to bring up to help create that excitement for these clients that are going to be coming to our calls.
You're talking about these different things, and you have these calls where you actually have the founder, CEO, and the COO taking time to jump on these calls. I just hear, you know, we talk a lot about education, we talk a lot about discovery. And so on your guys' side, you also providing that in the same way that Jason as a coach provides education and discovery to his clients before he introduces, let's say, D1, as he did in this case. You're giving them just the info and allowing them to see this is what it is. You're not needing to make a decision. Here's just information. Here's the behind the curtain, and we just want you to understand what it is. You can see this is more than just a gym. It's more than just a training facility. Two, the fact that you have these multiple, it's not just one touch point. It's not just, hey Marcus, hey Erica, this is D1 training, this is what we do. If you like it, sign here. If you don't, okay, bye. It's like, no, this is mutual. This is something we're learning about you, you're learning about us. How can we make this an experience for you? And I think you guys clearly did a great job of that.
And I do a good job in an initial call to let them know that I'm going to be very transparent. I want to make sure they gather all the information, the good, the struggles, and still be excited to cross that finish line and be part of the D1 family. I don't want them to have any surprises when it comes to expectations, when it comes to, you know, startup costs, because I think that's my reputation on the line. So I want to make sure as we're going through this discovery process that they are getting put in as many possible situations as they can to get all of their questions answered and still be very, very excited to cross that finish line, because I think that's what's going to start a beautiful relationship when they sign that franchise agreement and then they go into site selection and they get that first facility open, because everything that they learned from me was validated throughout the process of getting it all up and running.
What you're doing is really setting up. I think sometimes it can be like, you know, we just have to get someone into the system or just have them sign or whatever it is, and then after that, you know, they just kind of be on their way. But what you're saying is, like, you set it up. You are their, like, first introduction to D1. You're taking the time to set it up so that they can be successful in the future, which is not only good for them long term, but also good for D1 long term. Like, it's this win-win.
No, and I think you touched on it in the beginning of our call. You know, the D1 home office, we're a world-class team, and if I were to be bringing people across the finish line that did not get all of their questions answered, if they came in not knowing what the process was or the expectations, I could assure you that our corporate team is going to let me know that I need to be doing a better job at bringing, educating our clients on the D1 process. So, you know, it not only benefits the clients going through the process, but also it makes the working relationship a lot better with our home office team.
Were there any obstacles that came up at any point throughout the journey? If so, how'd you work through them?
No, there was definitely some obstacles. I wouldn't consider them like emergencies, but, you know, some things that come up was, I think Jason really did a phenomenal job introducing the brand. And I think Marcus and Erica came in ready to go 200 miles an hour. And I think that's not a good problem. That's a good problem to have. But you also want to make sure that you're managing expectations and making sure that they're going through the process. I think, you know, we moved pretty quickly to get them through, but also it took me kind of pumping the brakes a little bit with Marcus and Erica to be like, hey, I want to make sure we go through all the systems and all the calls and all the information and put you in situations to get all your questions answered before you make this final decision, before we get you out to Discovery Day in Nashville. So really it was slowing them down so that we could progress and get everything answered before they crossed the finish line. But again, that's a good problem to have because they came in gung-ho, but really just managing realistic expectations on the time frame to make sure that their due diligence is done the right way. Marcus and Erica were currently living in Illinois and then moving over to Virginia. And so really just managing what that looks like from a time frame of signing a franchise agreement to site selection to getting them moved into Virginia. So helping manage that a little bit. But again, Erica and Marcus were phenomenal. They were prepared. They went through everything super professionally. So it wasn't anything that was a major hiccup, but it was just more of a timing situations that we had to navigate through.
Okay, another question, kind of going off on another little tangent, but when it comes to D1 and when you're working with these individuals and taking them through the discovery experience and all those good things, what do you really value with these people and with the people that you see become franchisees? What does D1 really value?
For us is you want to have strong business acumen. You want to have a proven track record of success. And I would say most companies are going to want that. For us, that what we really value is going through the sales process is letting them understand what our true core values and our passions are. And that's working with the community, being passionate about your community, and then really working with these young athletes and developing strong character. If those are your true passions, I really think the success of your facility is untapped. But if those really aren't your passions, then I would say D1 might not be the right brand for you, because there will be a time in your ownership of a D1 facility where it's going to be exposed that this might not be your true, North Star or your strong core value. So as we go through the discovery process, I am always instilling that, yes, we're still a business. We want you to make as much money as humanly possible. We're going to put you in positions to do that, but you've also got to have these core values and give back to the community. And one thing we talk about is, in order for you to give back to the community, you've got to be able to make a lot of money. So if your true passion is working with the community, then we need to make sure that you're running a successful D1. And then really the other thing that we're looking for throughout the discovery process is, will they follow a process? Because at the end of the day, I don't know why anybody would want to come into a franchise concept but not follow a proven process. But I also want to see that throughout the sales process, and that's being prepared for the unit economics call, reviewing the FDD before our FDD call, showing up to the leadership and validation calls, because those are all valuable touch points for us to make sure that this is something that you're actually very excited about. But also, if you were to cross the finish line with D1 and start working with our development team or our field support or our pre-sales director team, are you going to be able to follow their processes that we know work for you to be as successful as possible?
What would you say to someone else who is another franchisor who's going to work with the Entrepreneur Source? Like, what's really been something great for you that's worked? And maybe something that hasn't worked as well.
I'll tell you what works, and I love working with TES because I really feel as though these coaches invest a lot of time with their clients to really better understand them and introduce them to concepts that they're actually super passionate about. And so one thing, whenever I get a TES lead, I immediately go to the RFC and I pay attention to it, because I think what I've learned as I've grown into this role is you can't take each call the same. You have to know the client that you're about to be speaking to, what their background is. And I think that the TES coach does a phenomenal job in that RFC, really breaking down what their motivations are, what their pains are, their background, and what they're looking for in regards to this concept and to become an entrepreneur. So for me, if I were to give any advice to anybody, it's really understand that these coaches have spent a lot of time really getting to know them, and the fact that you're sitting with them, this is a good concept that they're very interested in learning about. So take the time before the call to really understand who you're about to sit down and talk to, and tailor that call to their needs and their wants, and really identify their pain so that you could, help navigate them through the discovery process that's going to be appropriate for them.
I love that you said that, because we say, meet the client where they're at, and I mean, that's essentially what you did. And also not just on the franchisor side when they get introduced, but also on the coach side. That's what it's all about, is the client at the end of the day. How are we helping them achieve what they're looking for. Like if they are someone who loves community and being able to impact children's lives, then you can tailor your conversation to that. If it's someone who's really more focused on the business side and, hey, how can I do these things, then you tailor it to that. And that's what creates the client experience, which sometimes I think gets lost as you're just looking at it as, like a process, which I know we use that word a lot, but if you just look at it as steps, and I'm just going to take Marcus and Erica, here's my steps, here you go, and check, 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 then it kind of loses that like personal feel, and I think sometimes that can happen.
I agree wholeheartedly, and I think just, really taking the time to meet the client where they're at also builds a lot of trust between myself and the TES coach. And at the end of the day, I want to make sure I am getting your clients across the finish line, but doing it in a way that's going to be, the TES way to be able to build trust with those coaches. So D1's always going to be top of mind because the coaches are going to know, hey, I'm going to recommend, so-and-so to D1. I know Richard's going to do the due diligence before that call. He's going to do great communication with me throughout the process. And so I know whether or not he crosses the finish line with D1, he's going to have a phenomenal professional experience, which is, I think, at the end of the day, any good coach is going to want for their client as they go through the discovery processes.
Amen. To your point, that's what's most important to the coach. I think sometimes people are like, it's the outcome that's the most important, as in it's that client makes a placement or is awarded a franchise. But like you said, with good coaches and working with great franchisors, the important thing is the client's going to be taken care of. They're going to get a great experience. They're going to learn about it. And regardless of if they move forward with D1 or not, I want to keep working with Richard. Like, I want to keep working with the team. My client loved it even though they didn't move forward, or my client loved it and did move forward. So again, it's like a win-win either way. So that's what we love. Is there anything else you want to speak on, or any kind of final remarks?
I just really appreciate the relationship between D1 and TES, and I could really say my transition into this role, almost a year and a half, has been a phenomenal experience, but really in part due to the relationship with TES and the coaches and the clients that are put in front of me on a regular basis. So for me, I just really look forward to an ongoing strong partnership and maybe a lot more of these interviews, because we're going to be celebrating success not only from a D1 standpoint, a TES standpoint, but also the clients as well. So definitely appreciate the time and the opportunity to tell my story and get the D1 brand out there even more.
I love working with franchise brands and with individuals like yourself, because you can really feel that you care about the client. You care about the people you're bringing into your system, into your franchise family. I think that speaks so much to the culture of your brand and what you guys have built really and worked really hard to maintain and protect. And so I think too that speaks to, you're going to attract the people that are like-minded and that really resonate with that. So anyways, my long-winded way of saying, no, we really appreciate you as well. And I think sometimes too, I wish I could just shout this to the world, because I think there's so many misconceptions about franchising, brands like yours and individuals, again, like yourself, where you're really like, no, we're just helping people understand that there's something else out there that can be life-changing for them. And we're just here to kind of tell the story and see if it works.
I love it. That's my philosophy. Introduce it to them, get all their questions answered, and hopefully it's the right fit, it's the right brand, the right opportunity, and that's how we kind of go our day-to-day to make sure we're servicing our clients best possible.
Thank you so much, Richard Collins from D1 Training. Great chatting with you.
Thank you so much, Melissa.